every single one of us. From the highest of the high to the lowest of the low, we all have stories. Exploring the world for the greatest stories of all time.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Aron O'Dowd Show.
The Aron O'Dowd Show. Our soul is the screen upon which we project our dreams. What's your story?
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Howdy to all. This is the Aron O'Dowd Show. Make sure you like, subscribe, and smash that like button as it helps the old algorithm get the messages of the superheroes out to the world. Today we have an incredible man. He's the power of LinkedIn. He knows how to spin and turn the algorithms, and he wears many colorful hats. We'll find out what his amazing company is and all about him. His name is Gareth Wax, and wow, he is the master of LinkedIn. Hello and welcome to the show, Gareth. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Fantastic. Tell us about your hats. Why do you love wearing your hats?
Well, going back about 15 or so years, I became fascinated with all things steampunk. Steampunk is more about an aesthetic movement, wearing clothes from the late 30s, 40s, 50s, sometimes even earlier than that, but also embodies having a wide-eyed view to the near future. And part of that is wearing hats. I'm a gentleman like yourself. We go to a similar barber, and I have no hair at all. Haven't had much hair since I was about just late 20s. And so I became interested in wearing hats from that point of view. But since I'm wearing all the garb, and I always wear bow ties and good shirts, I started wearing a variety of hats. And that's where it happened. But the concept of having many purple hats, which is what my company is called, came a little bit later on.
You definitely have to take off the hat, Gareth, and show how bald you are, you know?
Well, okay, here we go. You ready?
I'm ready. Oh!
I'm like an egg with a furry bit on the chin. What is in broken teeth. It's just part of my desirable look.
And why do you call your company Many Purple Hats?
Well, initially, I ran a company called Purple Fedora, which is I wear a purple fedora. That's what one of these is. A quick note about that: I don't really like purple that much. It's my wife that likes purple, and everything I do is pretty much in her honor. Her hair is purple, funnily enough. I like to honor my wife in everything I do. She's my main inspiration. Why have I many purple hats? Because I've got, I think, the best part of 150 hats now, and over 20 of them happen to be purple. And I was looking for something that conveyed power and speed and MPH, and I thought, MPH, many purple hats. Well, that's a marriage made in heaven. So that's why it's called Many Purple Hats.
What is your favorite hat you like to wear?
Not this one, funnily enough. I only wear this one because on green screen this comes out a decent purple. All my other purple hats bizarrely come out weird colors when they're through chroma key. So this is the one I wear for online stuff. But my favorite hat is a black Homburg from the late 1930s. It's a beautiful hat. I'll show it to you, but it's downstairs on a hat stand.
Cool.
But the other reason why it's many purple hats is because we now cover a number of different bases. When I started the company, the focus was, how do I turn my obsession with LinkedIn into something that actually makes me money? I am an autistic, dyslexic, and ADHD kind of gentleman, or as my wife calls it, the full dance card. And I thought, I have a tendency to obsess about things, and I thought one of those obsessions has been LinkedIn for about 7 or 8 years. I've been on LinkedIn since it started, but I'd never really taken much notice of it, except as a way of getting jobs. But the focus changed dramatically, and that accelerated even further throughout the pandemic, to the point where it's no longer simply a job board. It's now a place where business resides, business people can find opportunity and interconnections. And my whole focus in life is helping people and businesses communicate more effectively. And LinkedIn is a tool for doing that exceptionally well.
What has you obsessed about LinkedIn?
Because it's the only universal. When you think about it, stuff that you do on Facebook, you can sort of do on Instagram. Stuff you do on Instagram, part of it you can, well, maybe not anymore, but you could mostly do that on X. But nowhere else is there a single business database whereby if you've got enough intelligence, knowledge, and a little bit of training, you can search and find your ideal audience in preparation for marketing to them, for approaching them, for selling to them, or even for providing content that you know that that audience is going to enjoy. There's nowhere else that really caters to that. So it is, at the moment, until somebody else comes up with something better, it is unique.
With someone who's autistic, how does it interact with LinkedIn? Is it the perfect platform for you?
Um, I'm obsessed with detail and focus. Um, although there's the ADHD part of me goes, oh, shiny thing over there, quick, get distracted. But when I'm hyper focusing, which I tend to, on one thing, which I can do 5, 6, 7 hours, just absolutely focused in on it, and I'm searching for certain people who are the right people to understand certain messaging, LinkedIn gives me all the tools I need to do that. Navigator Core, which is the lowest level of Navigator that provides you with those search facilities, really helps you identify those right people. And it means that you can start building up groups of people who have similar interests. I firmly believe, and I think other people have said this, so I won't be alone. It certainly wasn't my idea, but people on LinkedIn hang around in sort of tribes, people with similar sort of interest groups, and they tend to be business interests. So, for instance, if you're hanging out with the people who are really interested in air conditioning equipment and so on, you're probably in the HVAC crowd. If you're interested in the legal side, you're probably dealing with the legal crowd. You know, it means you can provide information that will interest a large amount of people relatively quickly and relatively easily.
I want to ask you, tell us about how you learned that you were ADHD, autistic, and all these amazing labels you tell us about.
Well, yeah, I know they are labels, and normally I would bulk away from them. But I remember I'd spent in the entirety of my youth having no idea why I always seemed to be on the outside group to everyone else. I just didn't really have the knack of making friends. I didn't understand what people wanted from me. And worse still, I had no real clue about social cues and when things start and when things end and when it's too early to come to a party and when it's too late to stay. And I'm making light of it, but it was a troublesome time for me. I had no idea about any of this nonsense until much later. Um, I met a lady who I'm going to give a name check to, Mandy Elliott of the Profile Academy, who has been driven by her daughter's ADHD, and she's got ADHD too, but uh, to help her find a way of gaining better focus. Because if you have ADHD, part of your issue is a lack of focus. I'm lucky, I guess, that the autistic side of me, the SD side, is more prominent, which means that I can focus from time to time on things. But ADHD people have great difficulty in focusing on one topic and sticking with that, unless it's a special interest, unless it's something that they, like you notice with dinosaurs, a lot of them love dinosaurs, and they're absolutely focused on every aspect of dinosaurs. My daughter is very ADHD and she's absolutely obsessed with all this. If I tell you she's 37, that colors it slightly different, but she's still obsessed by dinosaurs. But my focus always was find the thing that gives me joy and literally dive into it head first and then live, drink, eat, and breathe it. And I found that I got a little of that mucking around with LinkedIn. Then I realized that a lot of people out there have no idea how to present themselves in such a way that they stand out from the crowd without sounding like they're just repeating the same old, without sounding like they're just using AI to come up with commentary. Because that's part of the problem at the moment and part of the solution. A lot of content on LinkedIn is being generated via AI. But let me come back to that. Let me finish answering your question.
Okay.
I was diagnosed fully just over 4.5 years ago by Mandy Elliott. She ran as a birthday present, funny enough, the weirdest birthday present, a whole series of tests that took the whole of one weekend and 2 further days, something that should have cost about £1,500, and it was my present. And by the end of it, we had a whole series of tests completed, providing indicative data, which has now been presented to the NHS to show that I have extreme tendencies in various directions. In fact, dyspraxia is the thing that seems to beleaguer me most, which is most often found with the fact that I'm very clumsy. And only this morning, I knocked over a mug of tea over my entire desk. I'd like to tell you that was an uncommon occurrence. Of course, I'd be lying. I'm often knocking things over. My concept of how big and wide I am is I think I'm a stick, but in fact I'm more like a balloon. But anyway, so there's that, and I can't catch balls for toffee. I can't do the hand-eye coordination thing.
And what was life like before that, Gareth, before you got diagnosed?
Before I had the diagnosis, I was confused. Why was I so different from everyone else? I'd kind of got used to the idea, but it was with with a dropped head, if you know what I mean. It was like, I guess I'll never be the same as everybody else. Now I understand why I'm different from everybody else. I've got the same cognitive functions, but the way in which I deal with everybody on a day-to-day basis, my emotional responses, my emotional intelligence is different, but it explains things and it makes me feel, okay, there is a place for me here. I mean, I jokingly used to say just after my diagnosis, I used to think I was out of step with everybody else. Now I realize everybody's out of step with me.
You stand out, but yet you're standing out in your own way at the same time, which is cool.
Well, yes. And do you know what? There are great features to being ADHD and autistic. Great features. The ability to cut out the noise, to only focus on one thing when you're helping represent a client, that's a good thing. That's a great thing. And yeah, I do forget to go to the toilet and drink water and talk to anybody else. And my wife comes in at 1 o'clock in the morning and says, "You've been in this room for 7 hours. You should take a break." And that can happen and does happen, but at least I really dive down deep and properly get the problem solved for my clients, and they thank me for it. So I guess it works. I start out every business interaction by a series of caveats, which is, before we get talking, understand that I always see that the shortest distance between any 2 points is a straight line. So I'm always hyper blunt. I'm absolutely direct. And since I don't have much in the way of any kind of interpolations on my brain before I spit it out, there's no filter. So if I think that your LinkedIn profile's rubbish, I'll tell you, and then I'll tell you how to fix it.
That's great having no filters. But where does music? I know music is part of you. You produce certain shows, but where does music sitting for you?
Well, when I was in school, my parents were obsessed with the idea that I would be a great pianist. It turns out I'm a rubbish pianist. And I got to grade 3 and was desperately trying to take it and ticked the wrong box. And instead of ticking piano, I ticked percussion. And after about a month, I got all these letters coming through saying Gareth is missing his percussion lessons. So after my parents got over the upset of the fact that I wasn't taking piano anymore, I started going to percussion. And I was told very quickly, you're absolutely mal coordinated. You're never going to be any good at this. And the quickest way to make me obsessed with something is to tell me I'm no good at it. So roll on a number of years later, and drums, percussion, and performing with my band is actually part of my income stream monthly. So basically it all came out of it, Aaron. Somebody telling me you're never going to be any good at this, basically.
Wow, seeing you in the band, Gareth, is kind of crazy. You know, drumming in the background.
Well, as you can imagine, I may be in the background physically, but I'm quite in the foreground in every other way. My band is called Encrypted Love, ENCRYPTED, Encrypted Love. And if you check them out, encryptedlove.co.uk, we've got a little website and so on, and it'll show you which shows we're playing. We're playing a couple of festivals this year. I think we may be playing a few more. We're all professional people. They are professional musicians in other schemes, but I'm obviously a LinkedIn person and a professional musician as well. And we play for the love of it. It's the love of creating music. We do about 80% of our own stuff and 20% of covers.
Is it rock and roll, hip hop, pop? What's the genre?
It's something called power pop. It's psychedelic rock with a sort of pop edge to it. So we've got a mad Estonian keyboard player come singer who has created her own synth, which is like a guitar. So she plays it standing up. I don't know why I'm doing that with my fingers, but there you go. And an amazing guitarist, and me, and we perform for all sorts of people. But yes, we love what we do. We're playing at the Shaftesbury Fringe Festival in July this year. Anybody's interested, go and look up Shaftesbury Fringe Festival. It's the biggest fringe in the UK outside of Edinburgh.
Fantastic. Gareth, you know, you're a man of many talents.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you know, what sticks out in your mind to be and manage all these amazing hats that you wear? Which would be your favorite hat to wear outside of LinkedIn?
Well, LinkedIn pretty much dominates a good portion of my life. And in a short while, with your permission, I'm going to give out a few tips to help people do better in 2025 on LinkedIn. And these are things you can action straight away, not one of these notional things. Be nicer, talk more. These are going to be stuff you can do right now. But no, music is very important. I obsess over lots of things. My wife and I counted 21 discrete obsessions at the moment. So I'm going to give you the top 4 outside of LinkedIn of Gareth's obsessions. Coming in at the rear, number 4, it's cheese and cheese making. So we have always between 12 and 14 different cheeses in the fridge, and I love cheese. I also like writing music, some of it derived from poetry. I use a mixture of my own work and also AI driven stuff, and I combine it together to create something. Now, some people sneer at that sort of thing, but I think if you ignore the existence of AI, you will do to your peril. The best way is to find the best way to use it to create something really new and interesting, and I do that. 2 of my tracks have been optioned by Sony recently to be used in computer games, so it's obviously working. 3 is I love providing backing stuff. So I play as a drummer for other people, so open mics and stuff like that. So I'll turn up, and usually they don't have a percussionist there, and I'll play percussion with anybody who wants to turn up and perform. And I love doing that. It's great. 2 is busking. I love busking. That's playing live outside, often beside the River Thames. My favorite place is in Richmond, down by Richmond Riverside, which is right beside the river, and you can have an audience of 200, 300, 400 people there. Just and you know, you get a little bit of money, but I do it for the fun. I do everything that I can just for the fun. And 1 is I collect film. So I particularly collect digital film, which I buy licenses for. I have my own film server, and I've got just under 3,000 films at the moment.
I guess having popcorn away, going at Garrett's house for films would be fantastic, you know.
I'm always doing something. I'm always up to something. We do have a very, very lovely film set up here. I have actually got an amazing setup. I'm very lucky with it, and we regularly watch films.
What is your favorite film, Gareth?
Oh, I've got different favorite films in different genres. But I would say the two favorite films I have, no, three favorite films. Four. I'll stick to three. Sophie's Choice, of course. Then I would say Silent Running, which is a sci-fi movie from the 80s about the last surviving gardens ever in space, in these huge space domes. It's utterly beautiful and features two lovely little robots called Huey and Dewey, which are just too cute for words. And one is, and I'm sorry about this, it's a toss up. You see, in the pop genre, I like Total Recall, the original one with Schwarzenegger. It was so poppy and so cartoonesque. But no, I don't know. I like all the old films as well. Oh God, you know, I could go on and on and on about
You
film.
could.
I could, but no, no. Look. Silent Running is perhaps my favorite film.
And you say you love cheese. What's your favorite cheese?
Oh, my favorite cheese at the moment is Maubier. Is French cheese. Interesting enough, it's like two cheeses for the price of one. They lay the first layer in the morning, and traditionally would put a soot layer, like a layer of ash. It isn't these days. It's kind of green coloured flakes they put over the top of it, and then they lay the same cheese in the evening, by which time it's kind of taken on a slightly tartar quality. So the top layer is kind of more creamy than the bottom layer. It's two cheeses at the price of one. Maubier, I think. Maubier. It's a
Wow.
creamy cheese. It's a creamy cheese. Yeah, French.
That sounds tasty. I must take a look and see what it is.
Please do.
Yeah. There was.
Oh, my other obsession is collecting Japanese puzzle boxes. I forgot that.
Wow. No, I did not know that. What is your favorite puzzle box?
Well, no. Well, my favorite one is actually got. So they have number of moves, each box to open them, and they if you were to feel one, Aron, feeling through your fingers and sensing where the edges are, you'd find it almost impossible to work out a point of entry, because it's so beautifully made. They're making so exactly, but the idea of small movements gradually opens up till eventually a side will slide off, and there you've got the entrance to the box. So it's I just find they're so beautiful in the way they look. But my favorite puzzle box is one that's only got three moves. It's like you turn one a quarter turn here, you rotate that, and then you push the button in, and out of it just opens up like a flower. It's incredible. But yes, I've got over 150 of those.
Wow.
And I've got another obsession. I collect fossils, and I told you this is what happens. I told you there are 21 of them. I love fossils and minerals, and I do have a slight obsession with Tudor England, and also medieval England as well.
We all want to have a legacy. What is your legacy you want to have left behind, Gareth?
Oh, well, I have a side project which hasn't taken off as yet, but I am still working on it, which is a company called Smart Mycelium, which is about using mycelia, which is the pre-fruiting stage of mushrooms, to replace packing materials, plastics, and also to ingest plastics. I'm fascinated by the way in which we can reduce the vast amount of plastic that has been tossed away and is floating around our seas. And if we could find products I mean, there's some wax worms that also will eat through plastics as well. So I'm trying to research and find a way that you can gather these together and have them in a provincial dump or somewhere. So when you throw these plastics in there, you know they're going to be turned into compostable, reusable material. That's what I would like. That's the legacy I'd like to leave. I've already done some work with a company based in the States who use hemp to create materials for transporting a product around America. But at the moment, everything's on hold because of the changes and the tariffs and so on and so forth. But that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to help find the way that the world can re-ingest all those plastics that otherwise don't break down for 1,000 years.
Amazing. Gareth, if someone wanted to have 3 powerful tips to boost their LinkedIn, what would you recommend?
Okay, I can do this. First of all, video is king. Absolutely, right now, video is king, but not all videos work. The tip for you today, this is the golden tip, is short vertical video. And vertical video should be between 60 to 90 seconds long, but they have to have captions and they have strong hooks. Avoid long horizontal videos. Long horizontal videos, that's anything above about 20 minutes long. The sweet spot somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes for a horizontal video. And if you are going to produce those horizontal videos, shove them straight onto YouTube and then turn them into a bunch of shorter vertical videos. There are a number of tools out there to help you do that. I cannot recommend it highly enough. The other thing is make full use of the LinkedIn Reels feature. And now this is the fundamental thing I want to tell about this. Again, about the vertical video, it's the thing I'm going to be banging the drum about a lot. LinkedIn have now discriminated between horizontal form video and vertical form video. If you make vertical form video, they pop up on LinkedIn mobile users. They'll literally pop up in their feed. If you make horizontal form video, they won't. And last year, over 70% of LinkedIn interactions was done from a mobile phone. And I've got no reason to believe it's going to be any less this year. So therefore, you're missing out on a whole bunch of your audience if the only thing you put out there is vertical form video. You must mix and match it. I'm not saying don't carry on doing them. Text posts are down 35%. Engagement has been dropped over 22%. So here's my tip. Keep your posts between 600 and 1,200 characters in size. They're quite short. Make sure you have a strong hook within the first 3 lines and break up long paragraphs into a bunch of lines. So 2 or 3 lines of the paragraph, break it up. 2 or 3 lines of the paragraph, break it up. And lastly, stop focusing on hashtags. LinkedIn takes no notice of them whatsoever at all. Use natural keywords within your post and make sure you repeat those keywords in multiple locations. Focus on engagement, not the trending hashtags. Replace any hashtags with clear and clean, keyword-rich copy. So that's 3 tips for you.
Mind-boggling. There you go. 3 powerful tips. Amazing. Gareth, is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Yes. The most important thing you can do to have at the beginning of any vertical form video is a bumper. That bumper should be the same every time. It should be something to introduce it. My recommendation is use a sound effect rather than necessarily music. Like, for instance, I'm working with a client who does car leasing. So all the vertical film video starts off room like that just before it. Just because that's an instant key, so you know what direction they're talking in. So if there's anything, like I'm working with an air conditioning company, and they're before their vertical form videos, it goes whoosh. Do you see what I mean? It's just something to keep people in, and sound is one of the best ways of doing it.
If people want to find out more and get to learn all these amazing tips, where can they go, Gareth?
well, they should really visit me. I've got a little tip for everyone here, which also gives you a quick way of finding me. Yeah, I love that QR code, and thanks, guys. That's really cute. But I'm going to give you a tip. I call this "What 3 Words" for LinkedIn. Now, Aron, do you know about the "What 3 Words" format in the UK and Ireland?
No, tell me.
Okay, if somebody types in "What 3 Words," it's actually a website. It was devised some time ago, so you can describe through 3 abstract words. I think it's a 1 meter by 1 meter square anywhere in the British Isles, anywhere at all. So it's a great way, if you could think of it, what 3 words triangulating to find you anywhere. What 3 words for LinkedIn uses a feature within your profile that most people don't touch, which is called additional name. I want you to, everybody in there who's listening, to try this out. Put in your additional name field 1 word that describes you. My 1 word is inspiration. So if you want to find me on LinkedIn, and without me giving you any real details, I want you to type in to Google Gareth, my first name, Wax, my second name, inspiration. And that will literally triangulate to find me, and I will be on page 1 of that Google search. And everybody should try that, because it's the easiest and most fun way of getting people to find you. Gareth, Wax, inspiration.
Thank you so much, Gareth, for coming onto the show and sharing your wisdom, your story, and it's been a blast, man.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you found it useful. I would say, if there's one thing I could say to anyone, whether you're neurodiverse or not, please try and see that the world is not a challenge that you can't get over, but just something that if you push through, you will get through to the other side. It's not about if, it's not about when, it's just you will. So if you've got that approach and you just put your head down and just keep pedaling, keep pushing forward, eventually you'll come out the other side. And I know, before anybody says anything, I don't need labels to describe me, but it does give you peace of mind knowing that you're not so different from everybody else. You've just got a slight different syndrome. Big deal. You're still just pushing through, just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. I put my underwear on 1 leg at a time.
There you go, everybody. The famous Gareth Wax telling us how it's labels don't define us. It's all about everything who we are. Because, hey, if you can master the platform of LinkedIn or social media, you're thriving and diving and being successful. And remember, who you know can actually give you advice, like Gareth just did here today. And remember, tune in next Tuesday, 4 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. Central European time, and 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to figure out and see what advice, superheroes, and what makes us the legends that we're forging every day. Take care, everybody. Chat soon.
Thank you for listening to the Aron O'Dowd Show, where the world's best stories are told. If you like, please post a review or subscribe to the show. To find out more, contact us at aronodowd.com. That's ARONODOWD.com. We're always ready to share another magnificent tale from the world's best storytellers. So stay tuned and rock on.